Okay, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a genuinely brilliant essay that completely reframes how we think about surviving and, honestly, thriving in difficult times. The source we're looking at is a fascinating piece called The Lubricant of the Soul. And what it does is take these incredibly diverse ideas from history, modern sports, philosophy, and management science, and weaves them all together to answer one of the toughest questions we all face. When your energy is totally fading and conditions get incredibly tough, how do you keep going? How do you not just endure, but actually grow?
To start, think about the mechanical metaphor hidden in this seemingly simple quote by the writer Anne Lamont. You know how a machine works, right? Lubricant cuts the friction. It literally keeps the moving parts from grinding against each other and seizing up when the mechanism is under extreme pressure. While our souls, our internal drives, they're really no different. When Lamont says laughter lubricates the soul, she's pointing to something much, much deeper than just having a good sense of humor. She's describing the exact quality that keeps a person moving forward through crushing difficulty without breaking down.
And really, that brings us to how we define resilience. We're tossing out that cliché idea of just enduring or, white-knuckling it. Instead, we're replacing it with an active, dynamic system. Our source material makes it abundantly clear. True resilience is not passive. No way. It's a highly active mechanism that requires three interlocking commitments. You need an identity that absolutely refuses to surrender, a constant, ongoing willingness to reinvent yourself, and a brutally honest accountability to your actual results. If you pull even one of these parts away, the whole engine seizes up.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll hit Pillar 1, committed identity. Then Pillar 2, constant reinvention. Pillar 3, effective truth. And finally, we'll put the whole thing together into a complete resilience system.
All right, let's dive into Pillar 1, committed identity. Because look, before you can adapt to any crisis, you have to know exactly who you are in the face of it.
Let's look at Winston Churchill back in May of 1940. The military situation was a total disaster. Literally on the brink. A lesser leader would have tried to manage expectations down, or maybe offered up some vague, comfortable hopes. Churchill did the exact opposite. On May 13th, he promised his people absolutely nothing but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. By June 4th, he declared they would never surrender, and by the 18th, he famously framed the massive crisis as their finest hour. He persistently anchored his nation's identity. He gave his people the unvarnished, terrifying truth, but paired it with a rock-solid identity.
And whether you're leading a nation in 1940 or just trying to manage your own life today, absolute clarity of conviction is literally the most generous thing you can offer in turbulent times. As the researcher Brené Brown famously puts it, clear is kind. Ambiguity during a crisis, that isn't diplomatic, it's honestly a form of abandonment. People need to know exactly where they stand. You need to know exactly where you stand. A committed identity precedes your circumstances. It dictates how you act before the winning or the losing even happens.
Which leads us to Pillar 2, constant reinvention. Because without this, that iron commitment we just talked about, it can easily curdle into stubborn calcification.
Take Steve Kerr. He had won 4 NBA championships and built this legendary culture with the Golden State Warriors. Yet, heading into his 12th season, the team was totally faltering and he felt completely disconnected. He was so frustrated, he almost walked away from the whole shebang. But instead, he stayed to reinvent himself through 3 really crucial steps. First, he acknowledged that the past just wasn't working anymore. Second, he actively abandoned his old playbook. And third, he rethought his responsibility for the future. He didn't just try to push harder at the old way. He entirely reinvented a new way.
Adam Grant's psychology framework perfectly captures why this is so hard. In his book, Think Again, Grant warns us against operating like a preacher defending our beliefs, a prosecutor attacking other people, or a politician just trying to please a crowd. None of those roles leave any room for reinvention. The posture you actually want to take, the one Kerr took, is that of the scientist. A scientist treats past successes as data, not as sacred doctrine. They are relentlessly curious, they test their environments, and, most importantly, they are perfectly willing to update their hypotheses when the facts change.
And as the legendary management expert Peter Drucker argued, this scientific reinvention requires deliberate, continuous learning. It is your absolute best hedge against becoming obsolete. But it's also deeply relational. You have to figure out what you need to learn and then bring your colleagues along for the ride. You can't just cross your fingers and hope reinvention magically happens. It has to be this intentional practice baked right into your daily routine.
All right, Pillar 3, effective truth. Because, let's be real, learning and identity mean absolutely nothing if the rubber doesn't meet the road.
Drawing from Machiavelli and the author Robert Greene, we have to face a pretty harsh reality. The only reliable measure of our progress is what our actions actually produce.
Green calls this the effective truth. I mean, think about it. Actually, scratch that. We are all incredible at telling ourselves stories to justify what we do. We get so satisfied with appearances. But the effective truth, it cuts right through all of that noise. It demands that we judge a situation and ourselves purely by the actual real-world results of our maneuvers, not the impressive, fluffy stories we spin about our good intentions. So we have to aggressively pivot this lens inward. We have to tear away those comfortable little lies we tell ourselves about being busy. Ask yourself, are you inventing things to do just to avoid the actual important work? It is so incredibly easy to mistake preparation or doing research or just general busyness for actual progress. You know, Benjamin Franklin used to warn that a small leak will sink a great ship. While the gap between what you say you are committed to and what your daily behavior actually produces, that right there is your leak.
So let's put it all together now, the complete resilience system. What actually happens when we try to isolate these pillars instead of locking them together? Well, it's a mess. If you've got iron commitment, but you completely refuse to rethink things, you just end up with stubborn failure. On the flip side, if you constantly rethink but have no committed identity, you just spin your wheels in aimless revision. And if you force accountability down people's throats without identity or learning, you create this toxic, brittle culture that measures everything but understands absolutely nothing. You need all three working in total harmony.
When combined, you generate this incredible capacity to sustain immense effort through difficulty while remaining open enough to actually grow from it. Think of it like a simple equation. Your commitment is the goal. It commands your focus. Your continuous learning is the energy. It keeps the engine running and keeps you adaptable. And accountability, that is the command test, asking you right now in this exact moment, does your current action actually serve the goal? This is the blueprint for thriving under immense pressure.
Answering this single, gut-punch question honestly, day after day, that is exactly where the lubricant of the soul is truly applied. Anne Lamott told us laughter is the lubricant. And it is. It's that lightness of spirit that allows you to laugh at your own missteps, get back up, and face this incredibly hard question without totally breaking down. Real resilience is keeping your identity intact, continually reinventing your approach, and staying rigorously, sometimes painfully honest about your actions. So take a hard look at your day-to-day. Are your actions genuinely pointing toward your goals, or are you just inventing things to avoid the real work? It might be time to rethink your system.